Good evening. We appreciate y'all coming, and most of all, we appreciate your time. So we're going to try to get started here on time so we can turn the mic over to y'all and let y'all have all the time that you need. I met many of you as you came in, but my name's Morgan Chegwidden. I'm the budget manager for the city of San Angelo, and this time of year, my job is to put together the city's capital improvement plan. And so we have some key staff here available to speak about relevant projects. For example, Carl Bednars, he is our city engineer, and he is available to speak about engineering projects. David Knapp, he's filling in for Parks and Recreation, and he's available to speak about those projects. Shane Kelton is here from Operations. He has a multitude of projects on the plan as well. And Kevin Kruger, he is here to speak about any water projects. So hopefully between these four folks, we can speak to most of the projects on the list already, but certainly we'll open it up for existing projects or new projects. With that, I have a short video to show y'all, and then we'll come back to the meeting. Hang on just a second. I'm sorry, it's not coming up. Do you know?
City of San Angelo's Capital Improvement Plan, or CIP.
Okay.
The City of San Angelo's Capital Improvement Plan, or CIP, features a multitude of projects ranging from a sorely needed roof rehabilitation at Foster Communications Coliseum to reconstruction of Bell Street to Concho River improvements. Above all else, the CIP exists to improve this community for the enjoyment of its citizens. City staff has begun crafting the annual plan, and we want to ensure we include projects important to San Angeloans. To achieve that, however, we need your help. We want and need to hear from you, which is the reason we're gathered here this evening. It's important to note the CIP is a planning tool. It does not appropriate funds, but rather supports the budget process, which is undertaken later in the year. In essence, the CIP process gives the City Council, staff, and citizens advance notice of these large expenditures as the budget is created and adopted. Typically, the plan includes projects such as street repairs, park improvements, replacing water infrastructure, and drainage remediation. But it also includes items such as a new fire training facility and a police administration building, airport terminal renovations, improvements to Fort Concho's Visitor Center, and development of the Hickory Aquifer, just to name a few. Last year's forms revealed a groundswell of support for a columbarium at Fairmount Cemetery, which the City Council approved during the budget process. You might wonder how a project gets added to the CIP. First, project managers submit projects to the city's budget manager. Next, budget division staff conducts public meetings to gather citizen opinion on the priority of projects and the consideration of additional projects. Then the CIP is presented to and approved by the City Council. That's how projects such as the Red Arroyo Trail and an automated meter reading system get adopted into the CIP. Once the CIP is approved, we take the high priority projects that do not yet have budgeted dollars and consider funding them in the annual budget preparation process. Once the funding has been approved as part of the budget, project managers may execute the capital project. What exactly defines a CIP project? According to the city charter, projects typically have a useful life of at least 3 years, have a total estimated cost in excess of $25,000, and require 6 months or more to complete. CIP projects have a wide range of funding sources, including grants, designated revenue, debt instruments, and fund balances. For example, most airport projects are funded through federal and state grants with a match of local funds required. Voter-approved city auditorium improvements will be funded partly through the half-cent sales tax. Check out past CIPs and watch for the new proposed 2014 through 2019 CIP on the city's website at www.cosatx.us/budget. Most importantly, Please use this opportunity to voice your opinion on San Angelo's most pressing capital needs.
And with that, I have a very brief presentation I'm going to go through just to let y'all know what's in the plan already. We're in the process now where staff has submitted projects, ideas that we have identified need to occur. Certainly tonight is available for y'all to weigh in on those submissions, but also to come up with, let us know about your own ideas and your own opinions about projects that may not yet be on the list. So as of right now, we have projects in multiple of these categories. I think the biggest picture item to let y'all know, we have 71 projects with a total cost in excess of $300 million. That's an estimated cost about 3 times our annual operating budget. And so certainly budget constraints are a huge issue that face these projects as the City Council identifies funding them. As mentioned in the video, this draft CIP is available on the website, cosatx.us/budget. A summary information was on the tables. There's plenty for everyone to take one. The document is a large one and is cumbersome to print and have hard copies for everyone. And so if you can, go to the website, you can check out the detail of all the projects there. Also, if you know someone who's not able to make any of these public forums, we do have an online submission that you would just go to cosatx.us/CIP input, and that way those folks can weigh in as well. It's I can't stress to you enough how important it is to the City Council to know what San Angeloans feel about their community and what their capital requests would be. So certainly these meetings are super important to gather that information, but also the form can be submitted online for folks that are busy. So with that, we're going to open it up to folks to speak. We're going to report back to the council what was discussed tonight. We certainly have several folks here to witness it, and this will be televised live, but we certainly want to be able to report back to the City Council that this is what we're hearing from our constituents, and this is where we need to be heading as far as our capital projects. So with that, is there anybody that would like to get up and speak about CIP submissions or new projects not yet on the list? Yes, ma'am, come on up. If you would approach the mic there in the middle, and if you could, please state your name and let us know what's your thoughts.
Thank you. My name is Marcy Bosquet. I'm an employee of the Tom Green County Library, and I'm happy to see what I am wanting to discuss is already listed on here, but it's not funded yet. And that is the Spur parking garage. This is the city-owned parking garage that's at 40 West Tuig, and it's attached to that building. As employees, we're allowed to park in there, as our other businesses and our patrons park there, the library patrons. When we have a large event, and some of these events go, for half a day or a full day, there's not adequate parking for them because, as our new community room can have up to 500 plus people in it, and there certainly aren't 500 parking spaces anywhere around. So when we have had large events, there is a problem with parking. And of course, there's other large parking events, anytime something happens at the River Stage, Pop's concert, that sort of thing, more parking is needed. But on a daily basis, I'm in that garage, and it's not, it's falling apart. They have a fence across the upper levels. The stairs that are made of concrete and metal are disintegrating. There is a fence around that for safety, but it is an eyesore. I know of myself, I have knowledge of the police being called there at least 3 times in January because of a vehicle stolen or vandalism. I've seen homeless people sleeping in there, sleeping on the ramp. We've heard voices coming from up above. So there are people that go in there in those unsafe areas. So that is something I would like the city to consider, is either repairing or replacing, possibly even enlarging that parking garage to accommodate all the fabulous growth that we're seeing downtown. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your input. And as she mentioned, the project is already on the CIP, but is certainly competing for funding before the city council every budget cycle. And so by staff's estimates, to rehab that facility would be about $2,007,000. And it includes, I believe that it addresses many of the issues you've discussed as far as the lateral decking and the stairwell and making it safe and occupiable. Yes, sir. Mr. C, please come forward.
I didn't quite hear what you said about what we were going to be speaking about. We are speaking about projects that's not on the list?
Absolutely. It's wide open to speak about other capital or big projects not yet on the list.
Okay. Well, I have a couple anyway. My main interest is sidewalks on 19th Street. Now, that has been worked for the last 3 or 4 years. And nothing has been done about it, you know. It keeps getting pushed back. And another project that's important, but not as important as the sidewalks on 19th Street, because the sidewalks on 19th Street is a hazard to the people of the neighborhood and people that comes through there. The city council has been out there, so a few people of the city council has been out there and saw firsthand what happens when people are walking up and down 19th Street. This one lady, I think she had a couple of kids, and she was walking on the curb on the street. And when the cars come by, she have to rush her kids up on the sidewalk. Now, when it's raining, that is really dangerous because of the uneven terrain. People step on that wet grass and slip and fall. Might fall right up underneath one of those cars. Now, this is important. This is very important. And I take offense to this project being pushed back because this is a project that's very dangerous to the neighborhood and the people in the neighborhood. And just because it's in a minority neighborhood with Spanish and Hispanics and black people, that's an important thoroughfare, and it's very busy. And something really needs to be done about that. I thought it was going to be on this list, but it's not. And that's flagrant as far as I'm concerned, and the people of the neighborhood. It has been planned for quite a while, a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago. And it's nothing been done about it. One other thing quickly. Is the Martin Luther King, I see where you're working on it from, 25th to 29th? But that needs to be extended, too, back further, you know, because Martin Luther King is not a very good street in the first place. And another very important project that has been on the board and had been worked, and that's the Chadburn Street Business Corridor. Now, the Tiers Fund, as you know, it's been split in half, north side, south side. Now, on the north side, we had money enough to start the projects on the corridor to 19th. So the bank put in the bank right there on 19th and Chadburn. 19th and Chadburn, right on the corner. Now, according to the way that looks now, that whole street is supposed to look like that. It's supposed to look like that because there's been a lot of money spent on that project. The streetscapes has been approved, and it was approved to get started on the project. Now, every year, you know that TIERS money is taken out for the north side and the south side. And there was also a bond that had been taken out. I think it's a Freedom Grant bond that had been taken out for the work on Chadburn. Now, I've been out for a couple of years, but nothing has been done about that. And that's been well over 2 years ago. But then there was a Freedom Grant bond that had been taken out. It hasn't been used that we know of, you know. And the money for from the TIERS program to do the work on that street has been taken out every year since it started. Now, there's a lot of money somewhere. So actually, it shouldn't be any excuse not to get that done because like I said, all the plans have been approved. But the excuse that I get is we don't have enough engineers. The engineering wasn't done on it. Why not? The engineers didn't have any of these other programs that they're doing now. Everything has been redirected away from that. And I don't think that's a good sign coming from the city council or our city fathers in concern for the people in the lesser neighborhoods. Now, it's something to really think about. Now, 19th Street is a hazard. And the city council know it, the mayor know it, all of the San Angelo that goes up and down that street know it, and with this oil boom, that street is busy, very busy. And it's a hazard to the people in the neighborhood. And I think that the city should start paying more attention to these lesser neighborhoods. They did at one time, but now things have gone and turned to where kick it down the street a little while longer, and maybe it'll go away. But this is not going to go away, I guarantee you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. C. And I do think we have staff that can speak to most of your questions on those items. I think they're all under Carl Bednar's purview, and we can talk. And I do have something about the New Freedom Grant as you start moving through these.
Is this on? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I can address your comments, Mr. C. On the 19th Street project. That project, I believe, was funded several months ago by council, so it wasn't included on here. But we're currently in a right-of-way acquisition and design phase of that. So that project's going to go. I can't give you exact month, but it's on the books for this year, later this year, if we can get the right-of-way acquired. So that's hopefully a done deal with that deal. The Chadbird Street. 7th to, we've got two projects. There's a 7th to 12th, and I think 12th up to 18th with different types of funding in there. We show one of them, and we're hoping to combine those two. One of them is with the Council of Governments, and one of them is with city funds. But again, that's it's on the books, and we're working on the design on that and bringing it together. So I'm hoping that's going to happen. The other one you mentioned about extending MLK farther than 25th to 29th Street, yeah, we'll certainly look at that and see what the concerns are on that. Sure.
Also, as we're looking on the streets, Jerry, and especially MLK Boulevard, and you're correct, it does need work all the way from 6th Street all the way up to 29th Street. It needs work all the way along it. The project that's listed here is a complete reconstruction of that section that we described, which is complete reconstruction all the way down through the depth, through the base section of it as well. We've got an RFQ that we're putting together right now to put out on the streets. For all streets in San Angelo to look at a condition study, which, of course, I've heard people say, why do we need to have other people come in and do a study? One, the city of San Angelo does not own the equipment to go out and actually do the study to where we're actually not only talking about ride quality, but they're also looking at pavement condition, and then they actually have equipment designed for pavement condition where they can just drive down the street. The equipment does it for them, so it's not a visual. It's actually a machine that's actually looking at how many cracks are in the road, what the condition is, the ride surface, the whole 9 yards. It can give us an overall view of the entire road system. And then also the study will go back in, and they will actually take, and this is why we need this study prior to just determining, like on MLK, what we need to do from 6th Street up to 25th. It's going to go in there and take core samples to where they're going to go in there and core the base and sub-base, and we're actually going to see how viable those subsurfaces are along these roadways to let us know whether we're looking at total reconstruction for that entire length, or whether we can, which is very expensive, or whether we can scale that back down from that 6th Street to the 25th Street and look at a mill and overlay, which is considerably cheaper than having to do a complete reconstruction. And then there's other areas that they may recommend that we just do a two-coat, seal coat process, which may even be of less cost than the mill and overlay. So there's multiple different things that we're wanting to look at, and we're wanting to not only do it on that area, because I agree with you, MLK Boulevard all the way from 6th all the way to 29th is in very rough condition and does need considerable work on it. But we want to make sure that we do the study and we know exactly what needs to be done on that roadway before we actually just run out and spend a whole bunch of money that maybe we didn't need to spend. But we're hoping to get that request for qualifications out to have a firm come provide that study for us, that condition quality study for us here. I would like to see it out in the next 30 to 45 days is kind of the time frame we'd like to see it out at. So just to go along on the 29th, or the MLK Boulevard, and what we're looking at there.
If I might, thank you very much for doing 19th. That's a beautiful job. It's a beautiful job, and the people in the neighborhood really appreciate that.
Yeah, we'll get going.
And one more thing on the Chadburn Streetscape project, that the New Freedom Grant bonds that you referred to, we did receive 2 grants. A bond, generally we issue debt against a funding source. We didn't issue debt against the grants, but we were awarded 2 grants totaling $573,000. Those grant funds are meant to be, or have to be spent in a timely manner, and they've been awarded and encumbered, and we're finalizing those 2 grants as we speak. The third grant has been applied for and been awarded, and I believe we're in the engineering phases of executing that third phase of it. And so the New Freedom Grant, we have utilized those dollars as quickly as they've come in, and are closing out those grants and executing those projects as soon as we are able. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to share? Yes, sir, Mr. Ryan.
Yes, Jim Ryan. I have 2 related issues here. One, and I've been banging this drum for years now. One is Bell Street. From the river south, we got a pretty decent street. From the river to Pulliam, it is San Angelo's ongoing gift to alignment shops. Related to this, I have been suggesting for several years that the City Council put before the voters a street maintenance tax. We are maxed out on our sales tax, but the state does allow us, with voter approval, to take, say, 1/8 of a cent from that and dedicate it to street maintenance. Now, at our sales tax income, that would be a little north of $1.5 million a year, which is pretty close to what we budget now, I believe. And we all know that we are way behind on street maintenance. That we have a lot of work to do. The last time I looked at this, 240 municipalities in Texas had taken advantage of this street maintenance tax. It does not raise anyone's taxes. It just takes a portion of your sales tax revenue and rededicates it exclusively to the maintenance of existing streets. You can't build new streets with it, but you can maintain the ones you have with it. And doubling our budget in this area, I think, would put us a lot closer to catching up on what we need done. Bell Street is by far not the only problem street. We have some very good streets. We also have some that are, well, not so good, and that need repair. This street maintenance tax would have to be approved by the voters. but the voters only get the chance to approve it if council puts it before them on the ballot. And unlike a lot of issues, this is not something that the voters can bring up by petition. If it were, I'd have already started one of those petitions. But I would predict, actually, I have looked into this a lot, and about 87% of street maintenance tax proposals have been approved by the voters in the various municipalities. And when they hit the and it deadlines in 4 years, it has to be reapproved. The reapproval rate is over 90%. Voters like this. They would a whole lot rather see our sales tax money be put down as pavement they can drive on. I think part of the resistance is that it would take away from, well, what I'm going to perhaps rudely call our slush fund, where we bribe companies to come to town. And we don't have a whole lot of Martifer checks being cashed anymore. And if it weren't for Hirschfeld, we would have perhaps the largest single empty building in San Angelo out there. I recommend that we spend it on something that we can all use, such as streets. And yeah, this street maintenance tax strikes me as very fair. No one's taxes would go up. We would just take a portion of the half-cent tax and dedicate it to street maintenance. And, as I say, only with voter approval. But the council has never put it before us. And that is something I would like to see the council do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. And I do think that it is something that staff researches regularly. It's one of the tools that the state does offer us on the local option on the sales tax. It can be an 1/8 of a cent or a 1/16 of a cent. I believe that Councilman Vardaman has requested that this be part of the discussion of the night meeting on March 6th. And so we will continue to work through that. And as you mentioned, there are some issues that come along with it, that it's only good for 4 years. And so $1.5 million for 4 years, wouldn't even be enough to do Bell Street, but as you said, it often gets reelected in its second term. The trouble that we found as we've talked to the comptroller's office is perhaps in its third term, as our streets improve and we're investing this money in our streets, that's when it starts to get voted down, that the citizens, every 4 years when we take it, that it has issues that folks have said, well, we've invested in our streets, now we can move on and use this money elsewhere. And so we know that streets are a huge undertaking that need to be tackled, that need to be corrected, and that is one of the tools that the state offers us, and I believe the council is going to have more to say about that very shortly. I'm getting a nod from Mr. Vardaman, so yes. And this is certainly your time. If there, I imagine that if you're here because you care about some specific project or some specific community item or need that you're seeing that's not being met. We certainly want to hear from everyone who has an idea. We don't want you to leave here and not and feel like you should have spoken up. We're here as long as you care to be here. So, is there anybody else that would like to speak tonight? Yes, Ms. Mims.
Sue Mims, WTOS. First, I'd like to really second what Jerry C. has said regarding the need for timely progress on the work on 19th and Chadbourne and MLK. I'd like to speak about a couple of other things as well. First, another project of considerable interest and concern is the remediation of the drainage along Avenue P. which is on the list and in high need. Second, I would also like to speak in favor of the Bradford neighborhood park and school area. A group I've worked with, one of our WTOS constituent members has had an ongoing involvement with the Bradford School, and there's really recognized a strong need for the neighborhood and the kids who have really struggles at this point, and I think this would be a big positive kind of thing for that area. And finally, I would also like to speak in terms of the merit of doing further work in Fort Concho. We know this is a one-of-a-kind thing, an asset that we have, and once you reach a certain point with historical facilities, it costs significantly more to go back and try to do the work. So I would also be supportive of the Fort Concho projects as well.
Thank you. Carl, do you have anything to add on the Avenue P drainage remediation project?
On the Avenue P project, I think the funds are identified for that currently, and we're working to secure an easement on the outfall end of that storm sewer. And as soon as that can be secured, we've got the design 99% ready to go. So I'm hoping that can occur soon. It's kind of up to how hard this easement's going to be to get, but it's already designed and ready to be put down. So.
And I believe, Ms. Mims, the other items you spoke to perhaps fall under the Parks and Recreation area of Bradford and Fort Concho, and I believe staff from Fort Concho is also available if there are specific, but there's certainly several items submitted for that.
Right. Bradford, we had a meeting in the fall with parents came and gave their input. We're going to meet again probably after spring break. We're trying to time it so that when our crews, it's going to be done by crews in-house. So we're trying to time it so they're getting close to finishing a few things, then we can jump on Bradford. So we'll have another meeting with them, kind of confirm what they want in the park and how we can proceed, have a plan set forth, and then hopefully, jump on it within a month or so after that.
Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Hello, my name is Dave Spalding. I live on Guadalupe Street. One of the things I wanted to know if it exists somewhere, a breakdown of the dollars spent toward conserving or accessing water in comparison or relative to what we're spending on all the projects. Is that something that's available?
The water conservation program isn't included per se as a capital improvement item. It generally doesn't hit that threshold of a capital item of $100,000. But Kevin, do you have anything to add to that? Do you want to come up here, or am I putting you on the spot?
But also, if that doesn't currently exist, that's something I would like to see, that you can go to the website or a specific place and say, well, this is the percentage of what we're spending overall for basically your health and safety for the public. And civic improvements, and this is the percentage of all that money that we're currently using to find water. We're capturing it, we're importing it, whatever it is. I'd like to see, and so that everyone can easily look at that and say, well, these are all the good things we're doing, these are all good projects, but we're spending, all that money on something other than finding water.
Sure, and I believe that water is the most important thing we have on our minds every day, and I think it's a constant operating supply issue as well.
Well, there is always going to be a expenditure for whatever water we're getting, but as everybody knows, we need some additional sources, some additional inputs, and it's going to cost it'll be infrastructure of some kind. Some of these are just not going to be putting in a culvert, so they will be expenditures that will reach that level, but then again, all of this always comes back to water. So I believe you had input?
I was just going to clarify, you were wanting to know the amount of money spent researching or trying to find new water sources? Was that your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
what are we, what are the projects that are ongoing or upcoming that are going to be concrete efforts that we're going to be able to see, this is where we're going to get this many acres or gallons of water as a, you know, again, as a percentage. Where are we spending that money?
I guess one thing to point out is that the West Texas Water Partnership, I mean, that's one place where the city is heavily involved in looking at a long-term additional water sources. There's other projects that we look at or looking at for shorter term, and those don't necessarily. I mean, there are costs to doing some of that, but as far as laying out hard dollars, that would just have to be something I'd have to take a look at and see what kind of number we could come up with and figure out on that.
Yeah, I just think that this, again, it's one of the most important issues we have, and some of these proposals may be, large scale. We say, well, what about if we were to do this? Where can we get the water? And some of these are solutions that may be as large as what the water that they got for Robert Lee. But if somebody's not looking for proposals to how do we get this, where can we buy it, how do we conserve it, and at least work out those proposals, then every year we're just going to have the same thing. We're going to be moving forward with other projects, but these projects won't help us when we're out of water.
Well, I can assure you we're looking at all types of options.
Okay.
Those discussions, it seems like they occur almost daily.
Well, I know they do, but that's just something I wanted to point out. Was I'd like to see, where that money's going. I know that there's, like I said, there's always going to be the same bills, but I would like to be able to see, look on a chart and say, there's where we're getting some water right there. So, thanks.
And sir, Mr. Spalding, did we get your contact info? Because we can send you some of those details at the sign-in sheet. Great. Thank you, sir. And certainly we're available to you today and beyond. So our contact info is available there at your back table where you signed in. If there's no more to share with the group, we're happy to adjourn or stay if there are any other additional items. Does any city staff want to speak as a final item? Mr. Valenzuela, our city manager.
I know the topic just came up about water, and there's a lot that's being done. I want to make sure that there's a lot of information we can't give out either, but rest assured that, as mentioned, as far as the West Texas Water Partnership, we're looking at different ways, different areas where we can bring in a long-term water supply to San Angelo. Also, through water reclamation, we have looked at options that we have available to us also. So I just want to make sure that you rest assured that everywhere that I go, when I give a presentation, that is the first question that's asked of me. What is San Angelo doing about water? Trust me when I say that we're doing quite a bit. As far as what you're asking for, the monies that are being contributed for this water development, we do have the figures that through the West Texas Water Partnership that we do share to the City Council. The City Council does have to approve all those numbers. And there's a detailed information that is being provided to Council that is being supported. And after we come out of executive session, numbers are discussed. The only concern that we have when we start looking at, when we're looking at water outside the region, is that we have to be really careful. We know that when we address, we go to different areas, cities and counties, We want to work with elected officials. We want to make sure that those elected officials understand that we're not there as water raiders, that we're not there to steal their water, that we're there to work with them also. We know that they have needs. We have needs as well, but we always keep in mind that those individuals, those elected officials, their primary concern is their constituents, just like ours. So we're being very cautious. I've been asked to interview a few times, and I don't want our community ever to think that we're hiding facts from you. It's just that at this point, we have to be very, very careful as far as the information that we do give out. We want to make sure that those areas where we're seeking water, that we don't have citizens that are up in arms thinking that we're going there to take their water. Again, we are addressing reclamation. We are addressing, which went to the city council for approval as far as sending out RFPs for engineering services on that. We want to make sure that we're using our water, our effluent water, as wisely as we possibly can as well. But again, a lot of effort is being expended there. As far as water conservation, I can tell you right now that an item was addressed at the last city council meeting because our revenues have dropped tremendously. Our citizens, we're so thankful, have responded very positively. A lot of individuals are cutting back on the use of water. We have code enforcement out there also enforcing our laws to make sure that there's not any abuse of the way the water is being used or mishandled. So again, that effort is there. And I just want to make sure that I reassured everyone that it is a top priority for us. Aside from that, we're just very thankful to the community, to all of you that came out here today. We know that you have a lot of other things going on in your lives. This tells us a lot about you, that you made that effort to be here with us today, to give us your thoughts and ideas as far as what we can do to make the quality of life here in San Angelo much better. So we're very, very thankful for that. Again, we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity. I see some faces out here that didn't have an opportunity to speak. If you have any concerns or any ideas, there you go. Any ideas that you would like to share with us, please, by all means, come up to the speaker there and let us know what you have to the microphone.
My name is Nicolas Arteaga, and I live catty corner from where they built a house here recently, maybe a couple of years ago, which is on West Avenue Q in South Irving. On that corner, they built one. The contractor, when he first started to build a house, I guess these are just people that are not aware of the drainage that we have in San Angelo, or at least where I live. And they had their footing, everything was way down on very little low grade. I went in there and we talked a little as a neighbor, and I finally convinced the guy to pick up the foundation a little higher, bring it up a little more, because since I live at 2101 South Irving, I know how the water runs there. Well, they picked it up, but not enough. The first heavy rain that we had coming in through that area, the water got into that new, beautiful house. Now, this is it has to do with the people who are involved in giving permits. It has to do with the engineering part of the program. And they don't seem to pay much importance to the dangers that occur later on because we have neglected. We count from 1 to 2 and we go ahead and do. We need to count from 1 to 10 or even higher before we issue out permits. Now, I'm here this day because I think it's already been approved, the money for the West Avenue P drain.
Yes, sir.
I think there's $2 million in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong in thinking that I think the contractor, Reese Albert, was this on the paper here a while back that he had a contract for that job? Am I right?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, this being now more than a year or more, this water problem was started out before the last engineer we had that left us.
Yes, sir.
But that goes back maybe 5 years or more back. And they've been working and working on it and this and that. detail after detail, changes in the plans and everything, and here we are now. And I haven't heard when we're gonna start that drainage project. If Reese Albert has a contract, and if he's up to here in contracts, can he take priority over this West Avenue P drainage? Or are we gonna wait for Reese Albert another 10 years to
It's not-
fulfill? Can you answer that?
Yes, sir, Nicholas. First of all, it's not a Reese Albert issue. It is, as Carl explained a while ago, we do have easement acquisitions that need to take place. The plan is already in place. We have the funding there. As a matter of fact, Councilman Silvas has been a proponent, has been really pushing for this for the longest time. And we are right there. Without giving away, we have one section of the easement that we need to acquire. And we thought actually initially that we already had permission for all of that. And there was a change in a property owner. And at this point, we need to make sure that we acquire that easement. But as soon as we get that, we're ready to go.
What is this easement right? Where is it?
Well, as far as not giving out the the individual's name at this point, we don't want to get him into a lot of trouble or anything like
What
that.
is the situation up to Chadbourne Street?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
What is this easement right that you're looking forward to?
It's just, I can tell you right now, it's just a piece of easement, a portion of easement that we need. And as soon as we acquire that, as soon as we have that, and legal has been working on this very diligently. As a matter of fact, I go by legal's office just about every day and ask about where are we here. We want to get it done. Councilman Silvas is calling me just about every day also, where are we now? And we definitely know that we want to get it done. It's just that we have to do it by law. And all I can tell you right now, Nicolas, is we're just missing that one portion of the easement that is necessary. But the funding is there. Again, it's not a Reese Albert issue. It's just at this point that we have to make sure that we acquire that
Do you have
easement.
an idea when Reese Albert more or less wants to start this project?
Well, at this point, I know we have a representative from Reese Albert right now, but at this point, it's first things first is we want to make sure that we get that done first. And then we can work with Reese Albert to
We
make sure we
already
coordinate.
waited about 5 or 6 years just talking about this project. And I've seen other projects throughout the city that overnight they get started and they're finished.
Yes, sir, when there's not issues with easements and so forth, we can do that a lot
This
faster.
one is very important because really the people at fault here were people who didn't, I would say, and I'm not an expert at any of these, but I would say it was maybe the state that did that job on Bryan Thruway. And this water runs all the way from ASU, coming down an Avenue N, and it goes over. And nobody knows, engineer had any, to understand where was the water going to go.
Sure.
Now, I've been begging and complaining and kicking the ground. They cleaned the Red Arroyo a little, enough to help the current to go faster. Now, you're going to excuse me for what I'm saying here, but we had a mayor here a while back, not Mr. the new one we have here, we had another one. And I complained about the water at the Red Arroyo. Why don't you get a cleanup now that this is dry weather? And again, this is dry weather and a lot of shrubbery and stuff in there. Where is the city crews? Why don't they go in there and clean it up now before water starts running in again? He said, oh, no, Nicolas, because all that shrubbery and all that, it retains the dirt and trash going into the river, the waterway. And that's why we rather not get it clean. Well, a few days later, the federal government now has put out the water. They tell us that if you don't straighten up your water running, that you might now having to pay a penalty, because if it can go forever and ever. But I understand this storm water cannot go into my neighbor's place. So you have to now understand how the water is going to be running when you go building or when. So there's a lot of complications on this one item of this West Avenue P. West Avenue P didn't have any fault at all. It was further up and the state building that Bryan Thruway. This is where the engineer's mind comes into working. Before we run into this kind of, and pardon me for saying so much, but I've been around here for ages. You weren't born yet when I was here. And I served my country very well too. I've been at somewhere. Okay, And that's why you see me here, because I have some property around this stadium pool.
Yes, sir.
Could be worth close to $1 million worth of property. So that's why I'm here stumping the floor. I don't want water coming in there anymore, because it's going to hurt people. Further up, closer to between the Irving Street and the the Bryant Thruway, I know some people out there where just lately when the water was coming through there, the less rain, the water got into the backyards of the people between that. I'm talking to the alley between West Avenue Q and P. Those houses back over there,
Yes,
the
sir.
water just running into their houses, goes above and into the floor. So I'm not here just for the sake, and of course I've got my
Yes, sir.
my property there that I like to protect, and pay good taxes to the city.
Yes, sir. And we sincerely appreciate your
So
comments.
I want you to keep that in mind, the
will.
engineers, and pardon my expression, everybody, and if I can help in any way to advise you, I'm not an engineer, but there's a God very above all of us that gives and dictates your mentality to understand things.
Yes, sir.
And pardon me for saying things that may be out of order for some. Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
but I don't want to wait another 6 years.
No, and again, as soon as we can get that easement, we'll get that thing done. I don't want to hear from Councilman Silvas anymore. He's been on my case on this also, so. But again, and we do, and trust me when we say, when developers do come in right now, as far as the plan review process, we definitely make sure that drainage issues are addressed in the plans before the plans are approved. So we want to make sure we don't have those issues that we had maybe years back when we didn't have that process in place. So we're making sure that we're monitoring and watching that very closely as well. Thank you, Nicholas. Appreciate that. Anyone else that is out here that wanted to share any information or any thoughts, ideas? With that, then, yes, sir.
Just final word. I've been attending these meetings ever since we started having them. I believe the first 3 years we would show up and we would have staff there and myself and my friend Jim Turner, and that was it. I'm very pleased to see we have a better turnout and more comment, and I hope that continues to improve. And I thank everyone who took the time to show up.
And we thank you also. Thank you for that. Again, if you see anything, or maybe you forgot about something that you would like to share with us, by all means, feel free to contact us, the finance department, and you can speak with Morgan and share those thoughts and ideas. Again, we're very appreciative of you showing up, and I know your time is valuable, and we really will take the information that you gave us today, and we'll compile it together. We have another public meeting next week as well, so we'll pick up some more information and we'll present this to the city council and come up with a plan that'll work for this community. Again, we thank you. You'll have a wonderful evening. God bless.